So welcome back to part 2. So now what we're going to do is we are going to work on adding this section right here. So we're just going to go over a few things. I marked with a stitch marker where I started as to where I finished, because once you pull out that thread, sometimes you can forget which part started and which part finished. So we are actually going to attach our new yarn on the bottom left portion of the first portion of our swatch here. And you can add, you can pull on your yarn however you're comfortable with. So a lot of people will just insert their hook, yarn over with the new yarn, and pull it through. And then from there you're going to chain up 6. So chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4, chain 5, chain 6, and I am just going to zoom in a little bit. And from there, I'm just going to turn the swatch a little bit. From there, we're going to kind of do how you always do when you're at the beginning of a row. Where you chain up 6, you're going to double crochet into the 4th, 5th, and 6th chain from the hook. And now when you're double crocheting into that 6th chain, this tail end might become a little bit loose, and don't worry about that, just tighten it when you're done doing your double crochet. So I'll go ahead with a double crochet into the 4th chain, fifth chain, and into that 6th chain. So as you can see, it did get a little bit loose, so we're just going to tighten that up. And now, because we want to start working this way, we're going to turn our work. And so you want the right side to be facing your table or whatever surface you're working on. So you want that down, and you're going to attach with a slip stitch. And I'm just going to zoom in because I want to be really clear with where we are going to put our hook. So I'm just going to use this hook for a loom hook, just to point out where we're going to put your crochet hook. So you could put it in this gap right here, but then you're going to get a bit of a bump, and so we don't want that. So we're actually going to put our hook in through this stitch right here. Okay, so I've zoomed in as much as I can. So that's where we're going to insert our hook. So we'll just tighten this back up again, tighten that back up, and we will slip stitch into that previous stitch and tighten up. And so now you've got the new yarn attached, and that looks really nice. So we'll just zoom back out again. And so now we're going to create a foundation for the next C2C block. So how we do that is we chain 3, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, and the chain 3 that we just made is going to lay across the chain 3 from the first swatch. And so if I just poke that in there. You can see the gap that it had made before. And we will just slip stitch that into, again, I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see. So you could, again, put it in this gap here, but we're actually going to put it in this stitch right there. And then it'll lay nice and flat for you. So with a slip stitch, and zoom back out again. And so now we're going to chain 3, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, and we're going to turn our work. And now it's just the same as we do all these middle stitches. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets into this chain 3 space here. So into the space we made with the chain 3 that's laying down. And let me just zoom in. I just want to be very, very clear. So we're going to double crochet into this section here. Double crochet 1, double crochet 2, double crochet 3. Sorry, I'll just zoom out. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch into this chain 3 space from our first C2C square. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets. And so we've done row 2 of section 2. And so you just want to make sure that the blocks that you've made line up with the blocks from the first section. And so as you can see here, these blocks have lined up really nicely. So this one kind of sticks out a little bit, but once we join right here for the next row, it'll flatten out. So now we're going to chain 6, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to flip our work. And double crochet in the 4th, 5th, and 6th chain from the hook. And then join with a slip stitch to the next chain 3 space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets. Join with a slip stitch at the next chain 3 space, chain 3, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to zoom in just so we're clear as to where we want our next slip stitch to go. So again, you could put it in this little gap here, but we're going to put it insert this stitch right there. So we slip stitch. Oops. Let me just do that so you can see that again. I came off camera for a second. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to make the foundation for the next block like we did before. So chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, go into that next gap. We'll zoom in again so you can see where that's going to go. So right there, insert our hook, and oops, sorry, I'm just going to tighten that up a bit. Insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, and then we will chain up 3, turn our work, and we are back to this side. And as you can see, the first time I did this particular method, I found that right here and right here were a little bit gappy, but as I continued on, they kind of closed up on me. So if that happens to you, don't keep pulling your work out, just keep going and see what happens. And so I'm going to do one more row with you. And I just got to fix my camera here. I'm sorry, to just repeat, you make your foundation, your 3 chain foundation, slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochets into the foundation, the 3 chain foundation that you made. And then you continue on as per normal. You slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochet. And don't forget too that if I'm going too fast, you can always either pause or rewind the video, but there's also a playback function on YouTube that will slow down the video for you. 1, 2, 3 chains, 3 double crochet. Okay, so we're at the end, so we're going to slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And so you just want to make sure before you go on any further, you want to make sure that this is nice and straight and looks like a seamless join, and that all your C2C squares are lining up nicely. And like I said, this one will kind of stick out a bit, but so did the other ones, and they kind of flattened out too. So don't worry if this one sticks out a little bit. And so you're going to keep going until, let me just zoom out a little bit, until you have 9 C2C squares in the second color, or the peach in my case. So you're going to keep going until you have those 9, and then I will meet you back here once we get to that point. So we've gotten to the end of row 10, but we only want 9 of these C2C blocks going this way. So we're going to corner this off with a slip stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. Actually, sorry, we're going to chain 3, then turn our work. Chain 1, 2, 3. And then we are going to, let me just zoom in here. Then we're going to slip stitch into this chain 3 space, and then continue our pattern as per normal. We're going to do chain 1, 2, 3, and sorry, my camera keeps going out of focus. I'll zoom out a little bit. Then 3 double crochets in that same chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. And this will flatten out when we come back and do that next row. But as you can see, this is nicely squared off. And this looks really, really nice and sharp and crisp. So what I'm going to do is just continue on, and we will now decrease on this side, and I will meet you when we get up to this section here, once I have this filled up a bit more. Okay, so we are back, and we are just about done crocheting up the pink side, and I just wanted to go over how we do the last C2C square up here. It's really not hard. I just want to make sure that I go over it just in case there's any confusion. So I'm going to zoom in, and we will do the last few stitches here and the first few stitches of the next row together. So we'll do a regular stitch, slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. And do the same thing again, slip stitch, chain 3, oops, and 3 double crochets. And so we will join, again, I will zoom in just so we're clear. It can get a little bit tight as we get to the end here. So we're going to join right here in this stitch here. You could, if you wanted to, again, put it in this space here, but then you might get a bit of a bump. So we're trying to have this lay as flat as possible. So we'll go in through that stitch, slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 3 to make our foundation row for the next C2C square. So we'll chain 3, and then you want to put this through the very, very corner of this C2C square right here. Okay, so it's probably going to be tight. You could put it in this chain 3 space here, but it'll probably end up looking a little bit wonky. So I would suggest you put it in the top corner like I did just right there. And oops, and you have a tail end to worry about, so just keep that out of the way. And so we'll slip stitch, and then we have the foundation for our next C2C square. We're going to chain 3, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, and then we're going to turn our work and do 3 double crochets into that foundation chain 3 space. And so this will stick out, which it doesn't look like that's what we want, and that isn't what we want. But when we come back to the next row and we join with a slip stitch, it will actually pull this stitch down flat. So don't worry if it sticks out a little bit. And so we're just going to go ahead and continue as we normally would. Slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. Oops. And so I'm going to continue on. I'm going to keep going back and forth and back and forth, but I am going to come back when we get back up here because I just want to go over how to do the decrease on this side. And so now what's going to start happening is we'll decrease on this side here on the left and on the right, and it'll start to form our rectangle for the orange, or for the peach section rather. So I'll see you back here in a few minutes. So once you get to the end of this row, you're going to join with a slip stitch, chain 3, turn your work, and then join with a slip stitch again to the next chain 3 space. And as you can see, that flattened out really, really nicely. Okay, so we'll just zoom in there a little bit, and then you just continue on as you normally would and just keep decreasing on each side. And I will meet you back when we get to the meeting point for this corner. So here we are just about at the end of this peach section. I'm just going to finish the last row with you. So we slip stitch, we're going to chain 3, we're going to turn our work, and then we will slip stitch into that chain 3 space right there, and then we will do another chain 3, 3 double crochets, and we will join with a slip stitch. Okay, so now we just need to kind of square this section off, and so how we do that is we chain 3, turn our work, and join with a slip stitch. And as you can see, that squares that off really nicely. And so let me just zoom out here. I'm going to cut this thread, pull through, And so here, if we were to look at our chart, I'll zoom that in. So we have this pink section done right here, and then we have the peach section done right next to it. And so now we're going to do another pink section, which I'm not going to do on camera, but I will come back and then we will do this turquoise section right here.